It's lovely to see you all here today. Amazing turn up. Okay. My name is, for people who don't know me, my name is Serdar Mizrakci. That's tough, no? And I want to talk to you about revolutions today. And it's a lot to chew in 20 minutes, I know, and I'm usually the type of guy that doesn't like to speak, on any specific topic more than 30 seconds. So I'll split it up into bite-sized pieces and give you a couple of stories from my past and one story from my future, and we'll see how it goes. Before I begin, I just need to address a couple of things about myself, because sometimes I have people approaching me and ask me questions in the likes of, what's your deal? And you sort of look out of place. And I see some new faces in the room. So for the purpose of an introduction, I'll address those questions. So number one, I do wake up with my hair like this in the mornings. True. But you don't need to get jealous. I mean, I'm happy to show you how to take care of your hair. We can go to the barber together. We can even start a hair club if there's, enough people. Maybe not a hair club, but we can definitely go to the barber. I mean, I know we'll go with Mario next week. He wants to. Lawrence will be like the VP of the hair club. Anyway, number two. I come from this place. Istanbul is a fairy tale city that is at least as pretty as it is in your friends' Instagram posts. It's where I call home, and it's home to a very diverse group of people. But I am not European, and I am not Middle Eastern. I am a Turk. And that means I don't really represent any cultural stereotype. And I wish it was easier, because in a place like here in Sage, where you need to interact with 200 people in the same week, we all have our ways of memorizing who's who. And I'm a very visually orientated person. So I have this mental exercise I do, not to fall into the pit of, when you're speaking with one of the foreigners in the class, have them be like, dude, I'm from New Jersey. I hear that happen sometimes. So if you tell me that you're from Newport, here's what it looks like in my head. That wasn't the right presentation. Okay. I'm sorry, but you get it. And the star is for, this guy is mad interesting. Try to get to know him more when you can. And if you tell me you're from Long Island, you look like this in my head. So when Akshay is walking down the hallway, there's this psychedelic texture of suburban Long Island behind him. And I immediately recognize that it is Akshay. And the heart is for, that is your brother. Give him some love when you see him. If you tell me you're from Shenzhen, China, but you lived in New Jersey at some point in your life, it looks like this. I'll throw all my ignorance in it because that's all I know about it. And the baby is for, her family is visiting this week. Ask them how they are. But if a guy approached me and said, I'm from Istanbul, Turkey, it probably would look something like this. Because kebabs and baklava, why not? And the pants are for, his jeans might be a bit too tight for business school. So, number three, I am not a professional chef. Never have been. I did receive training in culinary arts, and I did start a non-profit venture on food to make the best burger in Istanbul. And with that, I promised that I would top it every time I made a new recipe for one of these events. My reasoning was, You know, if I can't find the burger that I want to eat, I'll make my own and I'll share it with the world. Because good food shouldn't be pretentious, it should be accessible. And I wanted to contribute to that. And I just had to prove my point. So after doing about 10 of these, it sort of turned into a burger cult where I had to leave the country and get an MBA until I figured out what my next recipe was to buy some time. But I'm a big disbeliever of the make your hobby your job thing. I think it's very valuable to have something that you're very passionate about and then to keep it safe from the ups and downs of making money. You know, food is a passion of mine. It's how I communicate with people. It's how I primarily bond with people. And if you're curious enough to watch me go crazy in front of a grill, you'll be happy to know that we are organizing a charity burger auction about the end of this month, the same place, same time as Johnson Beer Olympics, where I will take on the best burger in Ithaca. So you can be the judge. Number 4, I am an entrepreneur. And that means I launched a business in the past. But I only started calling myself an entrepreneur after I failed and realized that I failed at it. Those are 2 separate occasions most of the time. Me and a group of very bright young engineers were building a very specific industrial robot. It was going to earn many patents, it was going to save lives, it was going to make tons of money, it was going to shape the future. It was our attempt at an industry revolution. It didn't look anything like the fictionalized startup story. There was no venture capital money, there were no Instagram followers, no press coverage, no Kickstarter campaigns. It was a cold workshop outside of the city with 4 walls and uneven ceilings. And we did the kind of bootstrapping where we welded our own benches that we later used to weld other stuff on. It was an amazing ride though. It aged my soul in a way that nothing else had ever done before. My only regret was I was so focused on the end goal that I didn't stop to take a picture with my team. And that's why this is the only picture I have today. In the end, I did finish the robot and I did earn my patents. But I also ran out of all of my funding, and due to that, I lost all of my team. And I stopped and asked myself, what do you have left? And what can you make of it? Well, I didn't have much left. After I sold the robot, cleaned out the workshop, I paid all my debts, I had pending patents. And there is a place that most patents go when they die at an early age. They go on the pages of business school applications. It's a beautiful place with mythical creatures and knight-slaying dragons. That's where my patents went. So change has always been a major component of my life, you know, in social and business. But then revolution has also a more traditional definition. And I have a story. And I don't share this story almost at all. Because it's the type of story that you're never sure if people can understand it through a story or they actually have to live it to be able to understand. And this one in particular involves an organized act to overthrow a government, which doesn't sound nice, and it's not legal anywhere. But here I feel in a safe place, and I trust all of you. So I'm gonna give it a go and see how you guys like it. So I come from a country that has a very complicated political history. It's also home to, you know, a very diverse group of people, you know. We have many cultures, we have many ethnicities, and a good amount of religions. That's always very hard to manage. But I sort of grew up in a very apolitical bubble. And when some years ago we elected a man in this country, I wasn't aware. This man had many followers. I didn't vote for him, but from a distance it seemed like a lot of the people who did, they had their reasons. And I respect when people make questionable choices as long as they have their reasons. This man was very opinionated, and his message was overly simple. It focused on the divide between our people, cultural, economical, religious. And he emphasized that he wanted to make our nation great again. He was the definition of a demagogue. I don't know if it sounds familiar. But he ruled the way a demagogue rules. He won the heart of the public by using nostalgia, and he painted a picture of Turkey that was off from reality. But when he ruled, people followed him. But then things started changing. You know, there was this increasing trend of censorship. There was public condemning. There was law changing. There was war waging. It wasn't fun anymore. It wasn't comfortable. So I grew up watching a cartoon called the Smurfs. I don't know if you're all familiar with it, but along with me, 2 generations of kids grew up watching the Smurfs in Turkey. And just to give a brief explanation, it's this community of tiny blue people who share a very similar approach to life, although they have a diverse range of characters. And they execute perfect division of labor. And growing up in my apathetic bubble, I thought, you know, in real life, societies would work the same. A wide range of personalities, of people getting together to share a common approach to life and dividing labor to make life go on. But the truth was, the Smurfs always got hit by a villain named Gargamel. And their problem was, they never acted to the threat. They always reacted. They were always a bit late. So that was the problem with the apathetic youth in Turkey. We only thought to get up from our chairs, from behind our computers, only after someone reached in and grabbed the candy from our hands. What was the candy? The media put it as action against the demolition of a park in central Istanbul called the Gezi Park in order to build a mall on top of it. Now, something you should know is most of the protesters, they didn't know about this park. They were aware of the existence of it. They didn't know the name until they heard it from the news. And a cold, interesting fact about it is, a couple of days before the protests began, coincidentally, the government passed a new law stating that the sales of alcohol and the times of sales of alcohol will be limited. And that law implied that if they had the intent, they could legally shut down half the bars in Istanbul and take liquor licenses away from restaurants. And if I know one thing about my generation of people, you don't mess with their liquor. So it was a warm Friday afternoon, late May 2013. I came back home from work and I put down my stuff. I double locked my door. I went out. I knew something was going on just up the hill. I didn't know what it exactly was because the traditional media went eerily silent around noontime, and that never happens. As I started walking on the same pedestrian street that I would walk every single day, we became hundreds. We became thousands. And then we became tens of thousands. I didn't stop walking until my breath came to a halt. I walked through a mist of tear gas. I had to stop to try to understand what was going on around me. And then all I could hear was metal hitting cobblestone. Gas canisters were raining from above. And I wasn't only hearing ahead of me, I could hear it behind me as well. Luckily, at that moment, a hand reached out, grabbed me by the arm, and pulled me into one of the side alleyways. There I stopped. And when I was able to open my eyes, an unending flood of tears started pouring down my face. And not only because that's what the chemical does to you, it was tears of joy. It was a symbol of my redemption from a life of apathy and conformity. And while I cried, those tens of thousands of people cried with me. And we kept on marching, and we stayed up all night. It was so liberating, it was so freeing that we marched for days and days. We built walls. We took shelter in hospitals and mosques with our blood types written on our arms, so when we fell unconscious, they would know. But by the end, we did get what we wanted. We got it at the price of blood and tears, but the park was saved. And there were people who applauded. There were people who booed, and they all had their reasons. But the only thing that mattered in the end of the day was that people died. And they were all too young to die. And we mourned. And we swore that we would never forget. We just didn't know where all the rioting and the yelling was going. So we stopped. And when we stopped, it all went back to the way things were. There was no revolution. Because you only get what you want if you keep believing that you are entitled to it. Not if you stop walking, not if you're afraid. So this was a bit heavy, I know. So we can all take a deep breath now. And then exhale. There's something I do when I want to relax and go to my happy place. I look at burger pictures. And this one is particularly a beauty. I haven't had it yet, so it's been on top of my New York City list. The hype about this is quite new. And this one has 8 ounces of beef, smoky blue cheese butter, roasted wild mushrooms. It is just simple, to the point, just as I like it. And I'm dying to try. And if any of you want to try it with me, we'll go and try maybe this weekend, no? Yeah. Okay, so far we talked about a burger revolution, a robot revolution, and a political revolution that never happened. Now I want to talk about something that's today. I want to talk about something that's businessy, something that's in the future. And I brought something with me today to show you guys. Thank you. Food growing on water. And this one has a story. When I first moved to the US, one of my favorite weekly activities were going to the supermarket, going to the farmer's market, and just explore ingredients, try everything out, because I love the abundance here, all the options. But one thing I couldn't find was fresh produce, the way I want it, the way I was used to it back home. You know, that stuff that tastes good and is fresh every day of the week. So I thought I need to do something about it because it's important to me. I will be here for years and I can't survive without my food. So I did what the first logical thing was in my mind. I walked into one of the greenhouses on campus and asked, I want to learn. I should be able to grow my own food, at least for myself, to solve this problem. And then no later than 3 months, this man, Ziad, and I, was granted greenhouse space on campus and granted funding to grow our own crops and to do research. And that's how easy it was. It was a matter of asking. And I think that is living proof that here at Cornell, we are swimming in resources. You just need to ask. It's handed. Now, this started out as a hobby, but this is a business opportunity. Now, I'm a skeptical, like most of you in the room, and it's not that easy to call something a business opportunity. So let's stop for a minute and think about this together. Now, this new technology, although it's not new, it enables for us to grow fresh produce in any location, in any climate, any day of the year, without the use of pesticides or harmful chemicals that you would normally expect to see in your fresh produce. Now, there's a big challenge with it. Controlled environment agriculture, the way we do it in a greenhouse, is costly. It takes a lot of labor. It's just not at the same place. But imagine this. Imagine that we are able to develop the equipment to automate the production of this. And we bring down the unit variable cost below traditional agriculture. So now we have affordable food that is healthy, tasty, fresh, accessible. And we start building greenhouses and equipment for farmers and local investors who want to get in on the way of the future. We protect those investors by buying all of their produce at a fixed price year-round. We distribute the produce daily fresh, not a day old, to local supermarkets and branded until under one name that is synonymous with fresh, local, and healthy. We manage a whole green section in a supermarket. We own it. And then we do it not in one supermarket. We don't do it here. We do it in 50 states. We cater to the whole of the non-seasonal fresh produce market. We handle every single piece of fresh produce that is consumed in this country. Now that is the Greens revolution. Now, I need your opinion. What do you think of this? How many of you think that a bunch of Cornell MBAs can pull this off starting now? Can I see a show of hands? Cool. That is encouraging. Right. Because if not us, then who? And if not right now, when? Now I want to wrap this up slowly. Not every piece of change has to come with a revolution. Real change happens in organized steps, baby steps. And it just needs one particular skill. You need to break free from your change if you want to make change happen. If there's the tiniest devil in you that knows that your life can use radical change, you just need to develop the ability to turn off your MBA instincts. You need to turn off your conservative upbringing, your social values. Just put them aside for a second. Allow yourself to daydream and to obsess over things and be delusional. There is an exercise which makes this very simple. When you wake up in the morning, ask yourself, what do I have at hand and what can I make of it? Now that's a very important question we should all ask ourselves because it makes life simple and it leads to great things. And here's an exercise. When you go home tonight and open your fridge, look in it and force yourself to use every single item that smells right. I promise it'll be the best meal that you've ever fixed yourself. Exercise it with everything you have. When you're on your laptop the next time, pull up your resume, read it, but really read it. And then ask yourself, what can I make of this person? Look at your friends. Think about who they really are and what they have that you don't have. Open your bank account. Take a good look at it. And then ask yourself, what do I own? And what is the one thing I can make of it right now? I want to close off by thanking everyone who's here. I think this was the single longest act of self-expression I've made in public. And I'm just happy to see that everyone is awake and alive. Thank you.